and welcome back to the second half of the Death End Request 1.5 light novel reading. There are some precautions and disclaimers that I made at the start of the last video, to which I recommend watching first so you understand the entire picture of what we're covering today. Chapter 3, Beyond Hell. Mai continued to read. Seriously, what is with this story? What did Artemis Mizunashii want to tell me by writing it? This all seems like a big joke, but despite the words she spoke, she had decided in her heart that she would read till the end. She must read to the end. There was no alternative. Was it just intuition? Mai was caught up in a strange, instinctual feeling that if she didn't finish reading, something bad would happen. Arata was suffering. What happened when Arata and Sheena talked at the park? Even trying to follow her words and change my perspective. Death was waiting, no matter how he looked at it. What the hell should I do then? He had already degraded dozens of times since that conversation with Sheena at the park. During those times, he attempted many different things. In the end, Arata always wound up dead. This infinite loop was inescapable. That woman, she was the ringleader. Something needed to be done about her, but no matter what he tried, she always won the upper hand. She always killed him at the end of every timeline. Any attempts at recalling details about her were met with strange noises in his head. He was unable to remember her without this happening. But I can't just leave her alone. I'll have to try and find a way around this. Arata checked the ancient tome that he had gotten from Lydia. He then compared the written content to program code and thought about countermeasures. If she's able to counter the stoppage of time, he would have to consider another way. Arata searched through tens, hundreds of codes from the ancient tome. I don't like doing this, but I can't afford to be picky with my methods right now. He scoured through the codes and attempted as many as he could. From codes that would interfere with the town of Leshiora to codes that could send many different things out of balance and break them, he tried them all. Arata tried them out, but he was continually blocked, and there was no effect. Arata was then convinced there was no mistake. Her code held the same type of power that he did. At the same time, it meant that the cards in his hands were meaningless. The truth was enough to dash all of Arata's hopes. Damn it! I promised her! And so, from here on, the information war between the unknown woman and Arata unfolded. An endless volley of hacking. Arata would launch an attack, but would be blocked at every turn. In the end of each scenario, he would always be captured. It felt as if everything he tried was futile. He had once even fled to the far reaches of the world, but it didn't matter. They would find him every time and kill him shortly afterwards. It would have been ideal if it stopped there, but Sheena and Tokiwa would somehow end up dead before his eyes as well. As these sequences continued, Arata realized how powerless he truly was. Despite this, his spirit never broke completely. That might have been thanks to the words of Sheena. Arata steeled his resolve and continued challenging his opponent. Leshiora. He headed back to the town to try and understand the motives of this woman. The moment he entered Leshiora this time, a strange feeling washed over him. There's some kind of barrier set up here. There's most likely one of their methods of defense. A myriad of people died here 30 years ago in some freak accident. Not long after, poisonous gas leaked from a nearby coal mine, killing all of the residents of this town. The government feared this truth and banned any and all visitors here. It was erased from the map. Leshiora was, in every sense of the term, a cursed town. And yet, here it stands, right before me. What does this mean? Even if someone were to use the Salve pen, doing something at this scale is impossible. What the hell is happening here? Short of jumping into the head of the enemy, there wasn't a single shred of information he could gain beyond this. I'm done sneaking around. Hey, you're listening, right? Get out here. There was no immediate response to Arata's voice, but he was convinced she heard him. He waited for her to appear. Took you long enough. Good afternoon, Arata. It's quite impolite to call me out here like this. I need to know. You're the leader, right? You're the one behind all of this? It's as you imagine it to be. Why me, then? I don't have any memories of doing anything to you. Well, even if you don't remember, I do, Mr. Proxy Observer. What? So you do know about it after all? Yes. Well, to a degree. Arata's prediction was on the mark. This is why I must make the declaration now. No matter what move you make, no matter how you try to fight it, it's useless. I have greater authority than you. Just continue to play your little game. Keep dying. Everything will go smoothly if you do. This is ridiculous! The next moment, Arata lost consciousness. A gunshot had pierced the air, followed by a smell of smoke. Arata's body, shot through the head, crumbled into a heap. His opponent looked down on him and continued casually. Just one last thing. It doesn't really matter how many times you degrade. I hate you, Arata. Truly I do. And here in this world, no matter how many times you try to redo it, I will always find you. And I will always kill you. Now it's time to say goodbye. Oh, I guess I didn't give you much time for that, did I? Well, try all you want. It's useless, you know. It will all be complete soon enough. Yes, soon. Everything will end. Arata once again rewound everything by degrading. It was a complete failure. As all hope began to vanish, he began to reconcile with the situation at hand. She said degrading was useless too. This meant that going back further wouldn't change anything either. He couldn't possibly fathom what to do from this point onwards. Arata was at his limit. He tried all different kinds of methods, but they all failed. Everyone he cared about died in the end. It was also pointless now to use the Salve pen. His opponent clearly had a higher authority. No matter what he did, his efforts would be erased. This must be what it meant to be at your wit's end. A death loop without an end. He had fallen quite literally into a deadlock. They would always assault him, even in the midst of him trying to think about how to best combat the enemy. There was no regularity to how or when he would be killed. It would happen in a moment. Arata was trapped in an endless loop of torture. At his home, at work, at Leshiora, during a meal, during sleep. It didn't matter the time or place. They would just appear. And shortly after they did... Mizunarshi, today, why don't we sever your body piece by piece? You scum! You make me sick! At any sign that Arata was resisting, his enemies would rejoice and grin while inflicting even more torment. She inflicted violence on him again and again, as if she was whacking an electric toy that stopped working in order to make it move again. At other times, she would restrain him and force him to watch as she slaughtered those closest to him. This time around, why don't we massacre show star Shina Ninamiya? Or Sumika Tokiwa? What about Rin Asukaze? Please, stop! No can do. Shut up and enjoy the show, Arata Mizunarshi. The words of his enemies bore no lies. A literal massacre show was conducted. His adorable junior, his caring colleague, his stylish senior whom he respected, all of them were tortured and stripped of their dignity. It was ruthless, and the enemy made certain it happened in front of him. Phew! There, all slaughtered now. Well, look at that. There's a lot of yellow in that fat, don't you think? Does this person eat a lot of sweets? Pretty sure they should have cooled off of those. The blood-stained murderer cackled. Arata no longer had the mental capacity to respond. You know, Mizunarshi, no matter how many times you degrade and try to fight this, the same things will happen again and again. This is my revenge against you, you know. But I suppose even I'm beginning to tire of this routine. Oh well. Please try not to have a mental breakdown, Arata. The woman swung her axe down onto him. He couldn't remember how many times he had seen this scene. Arata Mizunarshi cursed his own helplessness, and he was terrified. He couldn't remember what his opponent looked like each time he tried to, and no matter what he did, it never stopped her. She understood everything he was trying to do. He was completely outmatched by this person, who seemed to exist on a higher plane. The monotony of his life, one that seemed to tell him that his actions meant nothing to anyone, began to torment him. Arata's mind, which stayed strong after degrading a countless number of times, which held its ground with the help of Shina's wisdom, was slowly starting to crumble. The motives of his opponent was to torture Arata. In all likelihood, she intended to continue until Arata no longer had to will the fight. She wanted him to choose death for himself. That was the prize, and to this woman, his existence was merely a game. She looked at Arata as his friends, as playthings, nothing more, nothing less. No matter what Arata thought or did, it wouldn't affect her at all. She was blind with hatred. It was unnerving, considering Arta had no memory of whatever his sins against her may have been. She did not relent in any way. She made him the object of her rage, toying with him. It was like she was playing with an insect in a cage. She held all power of life and death. Once again, Arta was restrained. "Good afternoon. What kind of death will we having today?" "Oh, poor thing. Such dead eyes. What's wrong?" No response? Isn't there anything you'd like to say?" "Hey, why don't you say something?" How boring. "Oh, I know. Let me give you something else to think about." "Beg for your life." "If you do, I'll lighten up on your treatment today." "What do you say?" "What?" Finally a reaction. "Go ahead. Tell me what you want." I want you to lay your hands off of my friends. Please. Don't harm them." Arta begged the woman with every bone in his body. Her face didn't change at all. Sighing, she peered at Arta with disappointment in her eyes. What a letdown. I was so looking forward to what you were going to say, but you're just boring. Are you telling me she risked her life for such a worthless man? Arta didn't understand what she meant. Boring, 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 boring. She was about to give the final words of today's act. You have no worth. You will despair for eternity. You will be killed time after time, and in the end, you will stop degrading and die. Don't worry. If you seem close to having a nervous breakdown, I'll be sure to heal you back up as many times as needed for our little game. You're a demon. No, I'm not, but, well, I'll become a demon from here on out. I suppose I'll leave it at that. This talk has nothing to do with you. Now then, I've gotten tired of this, so it's time for you to die. Wait, please stop. How disgraceful. Weren't you going to fight against fate? You've turned it into this kind of world. Isn't it just desserts? Just desserts? That's enough. I'm tired of talking to you, so... Stop! Ah, see you again, Arta Mizunashii. Something sharp and axe-like was swung downward, severing his consciousness. Despair awaited Arta day after day. It was a reality where he never knew when he would be killed. It wasn't just him either. There was a time when all of those close to him were killed one day after another. He couldn't even muster the will to live anymore. With this gloom hanging over him, he arrived at Enigma as usual. Upon his arrival, Rin came to speak of him. Mizunashii, do you have a moment? Sure. I apologize for the inconvenience, but would you go and buy some things for me? Sure, no problem. Arta went ahead and did as Rin had asked. He headed to a place written in her memo. Hey Arta, it's been a while. Munakata, what are you doing here? Seeing Munakata here, Arta was able to assume what was happening. Rin had likely been concerned and pulled some strings to make this meeting happen. Well, I'd gotten a call from Rin. It seems like you were troubled, so she asked me to have a talk with you. She thought you might have been more comfortable talking to me about whatever's going on. Do you really want to hear my sob story? You have enough to worry about, don't you? I heard your company's not doing so great right now. You had to go there, didn't you? At this rate, I'm gonna be the one telling you the sob story. Alright, let's hear it then. Hey, at my age, the worries are endless. I came here to talk to you, Arta. I'd like to help. Rin asked, after all. I'm sorry she put you up to this. Don't worry, she might see me in a better light after this. I see. Well, I don't know how I can help, but let's talk. Getting it off your chest might help a little, right? Arta, in desperation, decided to talk to Munakata about his situation. Although he may have made up a few things here and there, framing it as if a what-if story, he spoke about the history up until then and the current situation he was placed in. This is very... abstruse. I've tried everything that I possibly can, but it was useless. Munakata sat in silence, stared at the ground, the wheels in his mind turning. Arta was appreciative to see a willingness to offer help. Given all the information you've shared, I can't see your way out either. It's impossible. There is no way out, and I have no idea what to do now. Now isn't the time to give up. You young people are good at being reckless, aren't you? Confronting a giant without any regards to what might come. I was like that when I was younger too. Reckless, huh? Definitely. And you're smart. My logic really can't compare to yours. If a program doesn't work, you can rewrite it on the fly. However, when pushing through doesn't work, you might have to change your perspective and take a different approach. Changing my perspective, Sheena said the same thing to me. Of course she did. Sheena is outstanding. Honestly, it's a little intimidating to think of how she will be in the future. Anyway, Arata, so you feel that there is no way to save yourself until your opponent completes her objective? She'll just keep attacking you. Wouldn't that suggest you aren't her objective? Maybe there is something more important to her than you. If you're able to understand what your opponent is really after, maybe you would be able to create a solution based on that information. Arata once more remembered the words of his opponent. Until the 666 is complete. That's right, how did I let it slip by? Munakata, you're a genius! I'll get right on it. No, well that was easy. I'm glad to hear your brain of yours is still working. Hopefully you'll be able to figure something out now. Me too, man. If I'm able to fix this, I'll owe you one big time. You don't owe me a thing. Just do your best out there. What a hint, I might be able to find a weakness. She won't see it coming. Chapter 4. One Hope. Arata considered what the woman's motives were. Wasting time until the 666 was complete? She mentioned something like that. This meant her objective wasn't herself or Sheena. She was after something different altogether. He recalled the photos that were on display at the room he became acquainted with at Leshiora. After looking through past articles, he became aware of the murder that took place inside the girls' dormitory. Combining these pieces of information, he began forming an answer. Looking at this, it seems like she's trying to perform some kind of ritual. A program code. In order to achieve something. Arata always had an eerie feeling when he visited Leshiora. It felt similar to something he encountered before. However, the more he thought about it, the less he was able to place it. He had one more clue. El Stray Bus. The words those men had spoken, they must mean something. If he could look into the photos that were in that room, he was certain he'd find an answer. He would figure out the objective. It was only a matter of time. Just then, someone knocked on the door. Arata immediately braced himself. Mizunaishi? You're home, right? Oh, it's Sheena. Hearing her voice was a relief, considering he was sure he was about to see those masked men again. Arata opened the door. Sheena? Why did you come here? Don't give me that. Rin had asked you to run an errand, then you went straight home. I told her what I was doing. That's not the problem here. Mizunaishi, do you remember the promise you made to me? Promise? What are you talking about? You promised! You said you would give me advice about our baby. Wait, what the hell are you talking about? What do you mean? You're so horrible, Mizunaishi. It was just a very manifestation of her love. No, wait, I didn't do anything. You're so terrible. You even said it was a good child. I guess that was just a lie. Sheena, stop joking around. It is not a joke. You were supposed to give me advice on whether or not we should kill our precious child. Arata noticed that Sheena's ominous words were beginning to frighten his neighbours. He could hear them talking through the walls. Hey, Sheena, come here. What are you doing? He pulled Sheena into his room. Me? What the hell are you talking about? I'm talking about our child, the one we made together. Arata began to understand. Sheena, think about the words you're saying. Huh? Ah! As Sheena realised how absurd she must have sounded, she turned red and screamed. That wasn't what I meant! Why would I? It was someone like you. Someone like me? That's so rude. Besides, what sort of insane people would talk about a baby like that? You're the one who started talking about it. It must have sounded like a disturbing conversation to an outsider. Well, I'm talking about our game. It obviously isn't real life. I know that. I'm just saying that you shouldn't be talking in a way that will confuse general people. You're the one who interpreted it that way, Mizunaishi. You're so crude. Hey! Something about what Sheena said rang in Arata's mind. Sheena, what did you just say? What? I said you're crude. It's true. No, not that. What you said before that. Something about killing your child or... Oh, that. Well, a game can't only be made using happy stories. That's why I thought it needed something to spice it up. Don't you think a tragedy might make the peace you earn later more worth it? Well, I suppose. That's why. I mean, it's sad, but I wanted to ask you about having the child I created die in the story. I see. That makes more sense now. Sheena's word brought everything together. What that woman was after. Thanks, Sheena. You came to check up on me because you were worried about me, right? That wasn't why! You couldn't afford to end this sort of ordinary life. After Sheena left, Arthur began to search for more things about Leshiora on his computer. Elstrain Barbus, huh? Seems like quite the cult. Elstrain Barbus. The photo of the victims and the words that she had said. It would be complete once done 666 times. She also held the power to change the world in a way beyond the capacities of the Salve pen. She was trying to rewrite something. He opened Lydia's gift, the ancient tome, and began writing based on the information of the basics that he had made up the source code. Then, he started to write out on a special code he had learned from the CEO, Werner Glock. Eventually, it became a single program code. Arthur had never seen such distorted code before. He couldn't read out everything, but he was able to understand all of what he was trying to do. It was a special summoning function, and what he tried to do was... he understood. The objective of his opponent became clear, but even with his knowledge, he realized that he couldn't possibly stand up against her on his own. The only thing he could do was change his perspective and stop it here and now. I have to stop thinking about this normally. If I get caught up trying to apply common sense to this problem, I won't be able to outwit her. Arthur found his resolve. A few days later, 3 men appeared before him yet again. Hey, you're finally here, huh? Hostia, Narske Barbus! As usual, I can't understand what you're saying, but Armor, Askenalos! The 3 men brandished their knives and surrounded Arthur. Well, sorry, I've decided I won't be holding back against you. You can pray if you want. Elstrain Barbus was the one you guys like to use, right? Oh! The words seemed to shake them. They immediately launched their attack. Arthur chanted a spell and braced himself. 1 day had passed. The area around Arthur's place was crowded with police officers and journalists. There were unidentifiable bodies and splatters of blood. Evidence suggested that people were killed by dismemberment, but their bodies were so badly mutilated that it was hard to know for certain. Identified by an accessory left there, Arthur Mizunaishi became a suspect. In the days that followed, a police investigation began, but Arthur Mizunaishi could not be found. In fact, bizarre murders of similar natures continued occurring throughout Japan. People began to fear that it was a second coming of Jack the Ripper. In the midst of all of this confusion, there came a day that a particular message was sent to Sheena's email address at Enigma. Leshiora, there's something about this town. The minute Sheena saw the email, she knew it was from Arata. However, it didn't make sense. She tried to get more information, but the message she sent received no reply. Okay, everything's been prepared now. While muttering this to herself, Arata Mizunaishi was marching straight through Leshiora. She appeared just as he thought she would. My, have you finally given up? Are you coming straight here to be killed now? The woman cackled as she spoke. Today, I have no intention of dying. Can I tell you something new? Do you really think I want to hear you beg for your life again? It's not it. Come on. What do you have to lose by listening? Very well. Get on with it. You're trying to do something about shh, right? What? Why do you know about it? Because shh. That's what you're really after. Well, well. Thank you for saving me the trouble. You'll still end up dying today, though. That's fine now. Come at me, you monster. I trust you've all read this so far, Mai. This is the path I followed to arrive here. I left this behind because I needed you to have it. It's up to you now. You have to save the world in my place. You're the only one who can do this, Mai. Please, free the world from the shackles of curse. Mai Toyama, the future is in your hands. Signed, Arata Mizunaishi. In the moment that Mai finished reading the entire file, a warning sound began playing from the computer. A message flashed on the screen. Your life is in danger just by knowing this information. I will ensure your memories are erased. The moment she saw the text, Mai collapsed. Hours passed. A long while later, Mai sat up. Huh? What was I doing? She looked at her computer screen. She saw familiar desktop icons she was used to seeing. Guess I left it on. Well, whatever. The days in which Mai would be bound by the curse began once again. Extra chapter, Phantom Love. This is a love story hidden only in my heart. A love that would never come true. The coziness of the bed, the billowy comforter wrapped around her body, the warmth was perfect and hard to leave. Who would ever want to step out of heaven? It felt so good she could have stayed that way forever. Even though the setting was so perfect, all it took was the ringing of one doorbell to pull her from her bliss. She wasn't about to let such a silly thing knock her out of the ecstasy she was in. She focused in on that blissful feeling. She wanted to lay in it all day. "Hey, get up already! Don't you know what time it is?" A loud man was banging on the door.
God, he's so much.
"Come on, you're the one who called me out here. I've been waiting all morning. Wake up, Lydia."
Arta?
The banging on the door and the ringing bell snapped Lydia back to reality. She slowly began to wake.
Why is Arta here?
She yawned. Lydia still seemed to be in a daze as she opened the door.
Morning, Arta. What are you doing here?
Are you kidding? You asked me to come with you to go get that AI cure figure that just came out. I went over there, but you never showed up. I was worried and came down here to see if you were okay. Lydia's sluggishness slowly left her. She was becoming fully awake.
Oh, right. Sorry.
Arta started to quiver in anger, just seeing how carefree she was about this.
I binged AI Cure last night and overslept.
Yeah, got it. Well, hurry up and get dressed already.
What?
Do I need to spell it out for you? Confused, Lydia slowly began to look at her clothes. She didn't see anything wrong. She was wearing her favourite anime shirt and had some underwear on. Lydia turned red instantly. Lydia, let me be the first to tell you that this was on you, okay? But don't worry, I don't really feel anything looking at you, so we're good.
What? I hate you, Arta. So typical.
This was Arta's final thought before he fainted. Lydia's open hand met his cheek with a lot more power than one might have imagined. After a little while, Lydia, in a different outfit, came outside.
Arta, I'm sorry.
No, it's my fault too. Sorry. An awkward silence lingered above them. Both their eyes averted each other until Arta couldn't stand it any longer. Well, should we go now?
Alright.
The Enigma offices were closed today. The day before, the pair were in a deep discussion about any and all otaku-related news. During their conversation, she mentioned a store in Akihabara that had a limited edition AI Cure figure on sale, and asked Arta to accompany her. He waited at the store for an hour this morning. Arta and Lydia arrived at the store much later than they thought they would. Soon after arriving, a cold announcement came over the PA. "Attention customers, the AI Cure figure is sold out. We will not be restocking. Thank you." Lydia, upon hearing the cruel words fill the air, fell to the floor, crumpled into a ball. "Well, that's unfortunate."
Arta, I hate you. You're the worst.
"Why are you taking it out on me? You're the one who woke up late."
Well, yeah, but...
Arta started to feel bad when he saw tears beginning to stream down Lydia's face. "Okay, let's just go eat, huh? My treat. You can pick whatever you want." Lydia nodded silently. "I mean, I know I said you could pick whatever you want, but does this even count as a lunch?" Arta and Lydia were sitting at a bench in the park. Lydia held an ice cream in one hand and a crepe in the other.
"It's a perfectly acceptable, delicious meal."
"I'm sure it tastes good, but does it count as lunch?"
Who wrote the rules on lunch anyway? To me, lunch can be whatever you want. To me, that means sweets.
Is that right? Arta didn't have the capacity to keep arguing, and yet... But... aren't you worried about putting on weight? I would have just gotten ice cream too, but, well, you know.
Nope, I know the philosophy behind not getting fat, so I'm not worried about that either.
Oh, is that so? Well, please enlighten the class. Lydia confidently stood.
Have you ever heard of people who have a different stomach for sweets?
I've heard of people saying it. What about it?
So, you have a different stomach for that. And you know that anime where the cat robot has a pocket that goes to the fourth dimension, right? Seeing that made me realize something. Sweets get sucked into the fourth dimension. So, if you have a sweet tooth, you'll never get fat.
Really now? Arta, a little tired, looking up at the sky.
You didn't buy anything? I can't eat that many sweets, so I decided against it. You can have a bite of mine if you want.
Lydia offered him her crepe. Arta felt a little shy, but leaned over to take a bite of the crepe she held before him. Lydia took a crepe away and bit it herself.
This is mine, you don't get any. How's that, Arta? You bastard. I'm just kidding. Here.
Lydia winked as she apologized and offered the crepe again. Arta took a bite of it. This is pretty good.
Right? I love this topping too.
Give me another bite.
No!
You didn't even think about it.
As Arthur and Lydia went back and forth, they both began to laugh. From there, they browsed Akihabara together and window shopped. They visited shops that were selling figures, doujins, and anime. After looking around the shops, Lydia stopped cold in front of the arcade. Arthur, look! Lydia was pointing to a banner. Strip Fighter Tournament. The grand prize is a limited figure from AI Cure. Why is the prize something that has nothing to do with the game they're promoting? What's Strip Fighter anyway? Arthur, how do you work in this industry and not know what Strip Fighter is? SF is a fighting game where your clothes start to strip off when you get attacked, making you stronger. So it's an adults-oriented game. No, it's for everybody. It's really popular. Oh. Wait, really? Come on, let's go. Lydia's eyes sparkled. Arthur instantly knew what he was in for. You should know I'm terrible at fighting games. It'll be fine, let's go. Arthur took Lydia's lead and entered the tournament, and then... I have no idea what character to use. Hey, Lydia, which character should I pick? How would I know? It's not like I've ever played this game before. Are you serious? Why do you sound so confident about it? Well, I wasn't confident. I just want the AI figure. That's why I registered you. Oh, I see. Arthur quickly realized, as confident as she was, she really had no chance at winning. I'm hoping you have some beginner's luck, Arthur. Good luck. You shouldn't be relying on me this much. Arthur didn't bother calling her out for not participating. Mr. Arthur Mizunaki, please report to the cabinet at Block A. Arthur answered the PA's call and came to the front of the cabinet. Here goes nothing. Arthur selected his character. Whoa, Mizunaki is going to use the Eramon's bookstore. Seriously, what a horrible name. What was going through the developer's head when they named them? Your opponent is, ooh, bad luck, the famous fighter, the pride of Ochanomizu, the one, the only, T. Warsabra. Whoa! They actually like that name? Ugh, rough. Arthur thought to himself, good luck, Arthur. Mr. Mizunaki is today joined by his girlfriend. He could tell the spectators and the opponents were angered by this. I'm beginning to think the odds were not in my favour. Are both parties ready? We're all hoping Mr. Mizunaki is crushed. Let the games begin. These people take things so personally. Arthur was at a total disadvantage at the start of battle. Arthur's opponent had a perfect win. People have been playing this game, and one's looked like for it for decades now. There was no way he could win against someone from this community. That much was obvious. Aww, I really wanted that figure. Sorry for sucking. Arthur, you really need to play games more often. I can't be good at everything, you know. But you're supposed to be good at games. Yeah, RPGs maybe. We're not really playing at my skills here. The only reason you don't have skills for it is because you refuse to play. Well, maybe. Mizunaki, a first-class programmer, shouldn't shy away from a game, no matter the genre. Is this you doing an impression of Glock? You could tell. He's so funny. You're the only one who thinks that. Wow, you really do suck at fighting games. Alright, I'm sorry. I wanted the AI figure so bad. I just wanted to buy it. Don't put that on me. You overslept. Do you have to remind me? Hey, you never know. Maybe they'll make more. I hope so. Come on. You said there was some place you still wanted to go, right? I'll cheer you up. I'll come with you. Yeah, but doing that won't get me any closer to the AI Cure figure. Do you want to go home? No, I want to go. Then let's go. Arthur and Lydia's days off were spent like this. Really? Their daily lives were spent like this as well. Hey, Arthur? Yes, Lydia? If I wasn't human of this world, and if I was caught up doing some bad things, what would you do about that? Is this a story from a manga you're reading? Yeah, or something like that. Well, if it really was a bad thing, I wouldn't be able to forgive you. I knew you would say that. But, even if that was going on, it's you, right? I would just, lecture you. You'd feel bad, and we'd go back to our lives. What more could I do? That's probably how I'd handle it. I see. Don't you hate being lectured? Yeah. Then you'd better feel bad, or else I'd scold you again. I better feel bad. Arthur realized Lydia wasn't being her usual self. He began to feel awkward as they sat there in silence for a short while. Once again, Arthur? Yeah? If something ever happened to me, I'm gonna leave everything to you, so you can take care of this world, alright? The world? Well, sure, you can count on me. Okay, that makes me feel better. Lydia took some deep breaths. She did this a few times and soon returned to her normal self. Okay, Arthur, onward to the next shop. Really? There's more? Of course there's more! There are so many things I want to buy, but it's already nighttime. Sure, but we have tomorrow off too. Come on, wait, are you trying to go tomorrow too? Yes, and you're coming with me. Definitely not doing this again tomorrow. Oh, what? Lydia! Arthur was having a dream about this memory with Lydia. He jumped out of bed in a cold sweat. It was a dream. Damn it, Lydia. Why didn't you just tell me back then? Now that he held this pen, capable of fixing the world itself, it was so clear what Lydia was trying to tell him. The loneliness she must have felt, being unable to tell him. The pain of fighting alone all the time she was here. I wish I could have saved her. Lydia disappeared on that day. The reasons surrounding her disappearance still aren't known, but her old reality is now Arthur's. After I save you, you're never going to hear the end of it, Lydia. Feeling a new sense of determination, Arthur held the pen close to his heart. End. And that's it. That is the entirety of Death End Request 1.5. The main story is explaining how Mai got knowledge preemptively of Leshiora and pieces around it, and got the hunch that she had throughout the story. Although her memory was wiped, she still had an instinctual knowledge of it that could then be re-explained to her at the appropriate time during the end of Death End 2's story. Which is why Arthur had so much trust in her that things would work out the way it did. The extra chapter is a nice bit of spice of life, which I think is necessary because we never really got much of it in the games, showing the friendship Lydia and Arthur truly had. In the games, it's been made very clear and said very bluntly, Lydia loves Arthur deeply, and the reason why she took the action she did, and the reason why she trusted him with her powers after she broke the rules, knowing it would be sentencing to death, is because of her love for him, and that was it. Nothing else drove her. There wasn't some higher purpose. She fell in love, and she put all her eggs in one basket. It's a nice story. It's a small prequel novel. It only takes you about an hour and a half to read, well, as the video that we've done has suggested. But it is enjoyable, even if the dialogue structure sometimes isn't the easiest to work out who is talking. As you might have noticed there, I had to put on the voices for all the lines, because sometimes you just can't work out who's talking. That being said, thank you so much for listening to both parts of this. I know it's a bit different, and I know it probably won't be anytime soon that I'll be doing this again. Maybe when Death End 3 comes out, there'll be like a 2.5 book, and I'll do it again then. But until then, thank you so much for listening. We still have a couple small bonus videos left to do, but they should be rolling out pretty soon, and they're not that big. But all said and done, thank you so much for listening, and I will see you next time. Peace.